it's Mrs. Lamondo, and I'm back to read you Clean Getaway. We are up to Route 7, move forward, and we are headed to Mississippi, the Magnolia State. Dad calls again. Jima's phone is actually turned on this time. Just as the nice man from the camper parked at the next site over in the Bonita Lakes RV park finishes connecting Jima's sweet ride to the sewer hookup, which is perfect timing from every angle. The enchilada Scoop and Jima stop for are ready to make a swift exit, and there's no public toilet paper for him to use. As such, he's able to slip into the Winnebago bathroom as soon as he hears Jima say, "Yes, Jimmy, it's fine. Cool your jets, will ya?" Scoop tries to tune it out, but of course, that makes his hearing sharper. Funny how that works, isn't it? What do you mean? Is he having fun? Oh, now you're just being ridiculous. No, I do mean that. You're too hard on the boy. Fine, fine. You're the father. Did she know? I'll let him know. Oh, I shouldn't let him know? And then her voice cuts off as Scoop hears what must be the RV door shutting. The last part gets his wheels turning. What she is Jima referring to? Shanice? His mom? What does Dad not want him to know besides anything fun or exciting? His stomach burbles angrily. By the time he exits the bathroom after loading it down with odor-absorbing air freshener that doesn't seem to be absorbing anything, Jima's back inside and decked out in her camo gear. "Suit up, kiddo!" She tosses Scoop a bundle of, he has no idea what. It does have straps, though, which he grabs and holds it up. Camouflage overalls that match hers. "What are you waiting for?" Jima says. "Hop to it." Scoop looks at his current attire. Navy NASA t-shirt, khaki cargo shorts, sneakers. "Just switch out of the shorts," she goes on. "I won't look." She turns around. Scoop can't think of anything to say or anything else to do, so he changes. I'm done." "Great," Jima says, spinning on the toes of her Velcro shoes with a clap. "Grab your backpack so we can stick my box in it. Let's head out." Why they need to take the treasure box with them, Scoop isn't sure. But he doesn't bother asking. Also, he doesn't bother asking what Dad said. Jima's clearly on a mission. So he does as he's told. "So where are we going?" he asks as they reach the edge of the campground and step onto a trail that leads into some rather dense-looking woods. Maybe he should have peeked at the back of the RV to see if she switched the plates again. What if she did it and is trying to get rid of the evidence now? "Oh, just a little adventure," she says. "You spend a lot of time handling man-made devices that won't help you in a true emergency. I think it's high time you learn some survival skills." That doesn't sound scary at all. "Your Jima's going to teach you a thing or two, Scooby-Doo. Come on." They lapse into silence and walk for a solid 15 minutes before Scoop realizes he's missing a golden opportunity to get some of his questions answered. A bird crows overhead like, "Go ahead, dummy." So Scoop clears his throat. "Was that my dad who called?" Jima waves her hand as if swatting a fly. "That old sourpuss, you'd think that man had a very unhappy childhood the way he behaves sometimes." "What do you say?" "Nothing important," Jima replies. She stops to pull something out of her pocket, and Scoop almost smacks right into her. Up into the air, her hand goes, and she rotates this way and that. She's holding a compass, which once she picks a final direction, she returns to her pocket and licks her index finger and puts it above her head. "Okay. This way," she says, leaving a trail and heading straight into the forest. Scoop doesn't move. He looks left, right, up, down. From where he's standing, he can see the sky and the well-trod path he knows will lead them out of those woods, no matter which way he follows. Where's Jima at, though? The tree canopy is so thick it basically looks like night in there. That's not to mention all the fallen branches and raised tree roots waiting to trip him. One still painful arm gash is enough. Are the snakes waiting to bite him? Or the bears waiting to eat him? "Come on, you diddle-diddle," Jima calls from wherever she is. That camo outfit's working too well for Scoop's liking. He gulps. "Maybe we should stick to the path, Jima," he shouts. "It's here for a reason." "Don't be a goose," she replies. "Better to be in here than out in the open where the grizzlies can see you plain as day." Then there's a cackle that echoes so menacingly, Scoop could swear it sends a shudder through the treetops. He inhales extra deep. What the heck was he thinking, letting Jima drag him out into the Mississippi wilderness? This is the same lady who tackled him that one time when they were playing baseball in her backyard and he tried to block her from reaching first base. He steps into the woods. "Where you go? Where even are you, Jima?" he shouts. "Follow the sound of my voice." He hears her shout. "This is Survival 101. Use your available senses. If you can't see something, you gotta be able to figure out where it is by other means. In this case, use your hearing." She goes quiet. "Jima?" Nothing. Scoop starts to sweat. He knows she's somewhere in front of him, but he wasn't listening carefully enough to tell if she's to the right or left. Considering how tightly packed these pines, which look suspiciously like towering dragon giants at this moment are, moving even the slightest bit in the wrong direction could be disastrous. Jima is probably, hopefully, kidding about the grizzlies, but still he doesn't want to be eaten. The trail is right behind him. He could hop into it and trek right back to the RV, which, relative to his present surroundings, is the world's lushest palace full of what Dad would call first world luxuries. And all I'd have to do is shout to let Jima know he's headed back. Has to be super bad or something. Then again, knowing her, she'd tell him to pick a tree. He'd also be leaving her alone out here to be eaten. He's getting a little mad at her now for putting him in this prediction. Caw, caw. Definitely not a bird. Definitely a bit ahead to his right. Scoob steels himself and heads into what he hopes to the high heavens, as Dad likes to say when he's being over the top, is the right direction. He finds Jima standing in a small clearing with her veiny little fists on her hips, beaming like Scoob won an Olympic gold for not dying in a scary forest, which should definitely be a real sport. It's way harder than running around in a circle. Scoob would know. He went out for track last year. Attaboy, she says. Scoob rolls an acorn around with the toe of his sneaker. Thanks, I guess. Now come over here, she says. It's high time you learn to build a fire. This is when Scoob actually takes a gander at their surroundings. The open space he and Jima are standing in appears to be some sort of campsite. There's even a spot smack in the center where a bunch of medium to large rocks have been arranged in a haphazard ring. Reminds Scoob of the brick fire pit at the edge of Shanice and Drake's backyard. You knew this place was here, Jima, Scoob says. I did once I found it, she says, as she starts walking around the outer edge of the space, peeling off what looks like curls of paper from some trees as she goes. She also plucks up handfuls of brown grass. Set your bag down, go to gathering up a bunch of twigs. Any dead leaves you see, will ya? Okay. Make sure they're dry. You can make a pile right here in the center of the fire pit. As Scoob sets about this task, his mind returns to all the things he doesn't know but wants to, like who and what Dad was talking about. Keep an eye out for some good sticks and fallen branches too, Scooby-Doob, and if you see any good-sized hunks of wood, bring those over as well. Now Scoob's thinking about Shanice and how this one time she climbed a huge tree in the woods behind Jima's house in search of the perfect jousting stick. She'd watched an old movie called A Kid in King Arthur's Court and became obsessed with the injustice of the lack of girl knights. Problem was, she got up so high she freaked out. Scoob had to climb up to be the prototypical knight and lead her back down. Then literally an hour later in those same woods, Scoob fell into the creek and she had to save him. Scoob and Shanice always had each other's backs. And fine, Scoob had begun to see her in a different way, which is why he did what he did when Bryce pushed things too far with Drake and seemed to be threatening her. Why couldn't Dad understand that? Alex, watch out for my phone, please. How's it going? Jima is now bent over the ring of rocks, arranging the tree paper and grass and twigs and leaves Scoob piled in the center. He looks at the handfuls of sticks he's holding. No idea he's picked up so many. Fine, I guess. Come over here. Let's see what you got. So Scoob does as he's told. And when Jima sees what's in his hand, she claps and bounces on her little Jima toes. All right, come. Alex, get away from my phone, please. It's going to fall. Let me show you how it's done. Scoob brings the sticks over, and she makes him squat down to watch as she rearranges them into an upside-down cone thing that makes Scoob on ice cream. There's something about tinder, kindling, oxygen. She's arranging some bigger hunks of wood that came from who knows where, pulling a box of super long matches out of Scoob's bag. How the heck did those get in there? Sizzle, crackle, pop. There it is, a fire. Wow, Scoob says, as it catches in earnest. Bet you didn't know your Jima had them kind of tricks up your sleeve, did ya? She puts her hand on her lower back and straightens up slowly. Reminds Scoob of the former attic door. Had to push it a little harder than all the others, and it always groaned as it opened, like it was annoyed at being bothered. Not as nimble as I used to be, this old bird can still start a fire. Scoob just stares into the flames because learning this new thing about Jima just makes his head spin around all the other stuff that he's learned. I tried to teach your daddy how to do this when he was a kid, she goes on, but he wanted no part of it. Never been the outdoorsy type. She plants her hands on her hips, and now she's staring into the flames as though searching for something. Scoob recognizes the question-asking opportunity. Was he mad when he called this time, he asked. He's always mad, kiddo. But why? Jima sighs, which makes Scoob's dad questions bubble up and overflow. Why is he so hard on me? Why doesn't he listen? Why is nothing I do good enough? Why doesn't he understand me? Why doesn't he give me a break? Scoob's eyes prickle, but there's no way he's going to cry now. He grits his teeth to keep the tears in. Jima's staring down at him. Come on over here and have a sit down. Actually, help me down first. You sure about that, Jima? What he doesn't say is, are you going to be able to get up? Yeah, I'm sure. Gemma takes Scoob's hands and slowly lowers herself to the ground. Now hand me that trinket box from your bag, and then you sit with your back against me so we're both supported. Scoob complies. Behind him now, he hears the creak of Gemma's treasure box, and she's passing him something over her shoulder. It's a black and white photo in a plastic sleeve of a white man leaning against a super old school car with his arms crossed. Scoob turns it over. The back says Clyde Alexander, 1952.
Hey,
written in the top right.
That's
That's right. Corner, what looks like an image of a Texas cut from a map. There's a city, Kent, circled in the west of the state, not too far from the Mexico border. That's my daddy, Gemma says. Gave me that photo before he hopped in that Chevy and took off. I was 9 years old. Whoa. He was my whole world up until that point, so you can imagine how it affected me. I'd overheard him talking about Kent, Texas, so I figured that's where he's gone. I'm then added the cutout to the back of the photo, but my mama would never confirm or deny it, despite my pestering her mercilessly. She knew where he'd run off to and why, but she wouldn't tell me a single thing. That sounds familiar. I wouldn't leave well enough alone, though. Kept digging and digging until I discovered some things about my daddy I'd be better off knowing. Like what? Scoob feels Gemma sigh against his back. Well, he wasn't as good of a man as I thought, Scooby-Doo. Did a number of awful things and hurt a lot of people. How so? In a word, he was a crook. Oh. It's possible to know too much about folks in your life. Your daddy's always mad because he knows too much about your mama, about his daddy. At least he thinks he knows about his daddy. She sighs again. Anywho, finding out all those things about my father at such a young age, well, let's just say there was a whole lot I wish I could unlearn. It put a lot of mad down inside my belly just like it did with your dad. Which is interesting considering the amount of mad down inside Scoob's belly. Is putting mad inside their kids' bellies just a thing dads do in Scoob's family? But you're not like my dad at all, Gemma, he says, grasping at air. You smile and laugh. Oh, I've let it get the best of me a time or two, she says, but unlike my daddy, I'm going to make things right before it's too late. That gives Scoob some pause, and he wants to ask what she means, but before he can, she says, let's put out the fire. Time to move forward. All right, next time I see you, we will pick up with Chapter 8, Route 8, which is Onward. So my guess is they're moving onward through Mississippi. See you then.